Previously on Lost. So we were talking yesterday. I was talking to you about the three centers, as they're called in the tradition I'm in, the sort of fourth way work, and that's why it's called the fourth way. So intellectual center, what we term as our brain, right there. Emotional center, this could be down here, the solar plexus, but typically it's, I feel it here in the heart, right? Heart chakra. Physical center is just underneath the belly button. You can't see my hands, but I'm pointing to it. Also called as the hara in, I've seen in Zen Buddhism called the hara, but that's the second chakra, if I'm not mistaken. And these are our three centers, right? There's more little subdivisions that go into these, but this is a pretty good map to take a look at it. And if you think about yourself, you will tend towards 2 out of the 3, right? We are imbalanced. Human beings are imbalanced. This is part of why we do mindfulness, to become a more complete person. Because it's got nothing to do with what you got in the bank. It's got nothing to do with who you've got on your arm, what you're driving. That is not a complete human being. It's like maybe a complete social mask or personality. This is self-development work, and it's real, but you have to do it with intention. You have to embark on it with intention. So, rant over. We are imbalanced in one, maybe 2 of these. Personally, this is a nature and nurture kind of thing, who knows really, but basically my proclivity was towards the emotional and the intellectual. I'm a very intellectual looking person. I look like a genius. No, because I have like a very passive kind of face and like a low monotone voice, but that's not my inner environment. I'm emotion and turmoil, and everything's either the greatest or it's the worst ever, and that sort of turns inside of me. So I've sort of learned a passive mask so that I don't look like a mental patient. So what I have lacked focus in, my center of gravity was here. And the physical, I wasn't a very athletic kid. I was kind of an introverted, dreamy kind of kid. I wanted to read my comic books. I wanted to read my books, listen to music. And some friends of mine, they were very clearly in their physical. Sports. They liked a girl, they would ask her out. Whereas I'd ruminate for a couple weeks about the best choice of action and then the right words to say. And, before you know it, my friend who was a little more physical asked her out. There's just a purely fiction, obviously, but a story to illustrate about how we tend to a couple of these more than all 3. But the idea is that we can balance all 3. I love working out now. I'm not like a great athlete. I'm 44. Those days are gone. I'm all right with that. But I like lifting weights. I'm pretty good at it. I don't mind at all using a kettlebell, and I start to feed and my body loves it. So that energy starts to balance. Like it's like if you had a tripod, like a 3-legged chair, and it's just sort of wobbly. We need to stick psychic consciousness matchbooks under that 3rd leg so that it's steady. Well, actually, you're elongating the leg, but yeah, you get what I mean. So what do you think about this? Do you know? You probably know where you're at on this map. You could also see what you're attracted to. That's a really interesting thing, because sometimes it's stuff that we resonate with. Sometimes it's stuff that actually completes. That's another thing. That's another discussion, and that's kind of, there can be some issues with that. But take a look at your life. Have you changed through this? Did it take you a long time to realize? I used to think there was just something wrong with me and I just wasn't a good athlete. No, I was not a good athlete, but there was nothing wrong with that. I just happened to tend towards here. That's why I'm a writer, intellectual and emotional. So these are the things we can balance out. Where can you find this balance in your life? And you can see it in a lot of the friends around you, the people you resonate. You can see what their patterns are. Very interesting stuff. And another model at looking at self-development work and what it can give us. And this is when people talk about inner alchemy, shadow work, this is part of that. It's not all of it. I mean, inner alchemy has a lot to do with the masculine, feminine of ourselves, the anima, animus. Shadow work has a lot to look at, you know, the interoception I talked about, that word interoception, to be able to perceive what's going on inside of us. Seeing what's triggering us that's the hint, that's the juice, that's what tells us what we can work on. Being triggered is not a bad thing. That's part of the inner alchemy. So a lot of it could be, you know, people who are very physical, like, you know, a little more physical than I was, could have really triggered me back then, or I wouldn't feel comfortable around them, you know. And that's you know, just like someone, you know, say someone's like a really physical, intellectual person, they might not feel very comfortable around someone who likes to talk about art all the time. It's, you know, a very simple example, not rigid. But this is a really interesting way of looking at it, because these energy centers are working in all of us. Everyone has all three of these. But through nature/nurture, we tend to one, two, rather than all three of them. But we can balance all three of them. It happens all the time. But how do we do it with intention? Attention with intention, my friends. That's what it's all about. All right. Good luck out there.